The rain always starts the same way, soft at first, almost gentle tapping against glass as if asking permission to come in. When you're alone at work at night, that sound changes. It grows heavier, louder, until every drop feels like a countdown. The lights hum above you. The building breathes in slow creaks and distant groans. Your footsteps echo back at you, like someone else is following a half-second behind. In moments like these, fear doesn't rush at you screaming. It waits. It sits in corners. It hides in routine. Tonight, these are not just stories meant to scare you. They are unsettling, true, rain-soaked moments where people were alone at work and something shifted inside them forever. Within the dread, there are lessons about awareness, courage, faith, endurance, and hope, because fear may enter quietly, but strength is often born in silence. One man learned that lesson during a graveyard shift he thought he knew by heart. Hassan had worked security at a textile warehouse for nearly a decade. He knew the smell of damp fabric, the way rain drummed against the tin roof so hard it felt like the sky was trying to break in. That night, the storm was relentless. Water slid down the windows in thick streams, blurring the outside world into darkness. Hassan walked his usual route, boots splashing through small leaks on the concrete floor, his flashlight carving narrow tunnels of light through the shadows. Routine wrapped around him like a blanket. This was just another night, just another storm. Then he saw the loading bay door. It wasn't wide open. It wasn't dramatically broken. It was barely wrong. The latch sat crooked, the metal trembling slightly as the wind pushed against it. A tiny detail, easy to ignore. Hassan felt that familiar temptation rise inside him, the voice that says, "You're tired. Don't make more work for yourself. It's probably nothing." Fear didn't speak loudly. Complacency did, but something deeper stirred, a tightness in his chest, a subtle unease that didn't match the calm rhythm of his routine. He stepped closer, heart slowing instead of racing, awareness sharpening his senses. When he pushed the door open and aimed his flashlight inside, the beam landed on mud smeared across the floor. Footprints, fresh, leading inward. The rain outside couldn't explain that. In that moment fear finally arrived, cold and heavy. But it didn't paralyze him. Awareness held him steady. Hassan backed away without making a sound, every nerve alive, every breath measured. He didn't shout. He didn't investigate further. He chose life over curiosity. Locked inside the security office, rain pounding like war drums outside, he waited with his phone pressed to his ear. When the police arrived, they found a man hiding deep within the warehouse, soaked, armed, desperate. If Hassan had ignored that crooked latch, if he had trusted routine instead of awareness, his flashlight would have revealed more than footprints. That night taught him that awareness is not fear. It's respect for reality. It's the quiet decision to notice before it's too late. Long after the rain stopped, that lesson stayed with him, shaping how he moved through the world, how he listened to the small warnings life offers before disaster speaks louder. Another night, another storm, another building full of echoes. Eliza was a nurse working the night shift in a small rural clinic, the kind of place where silence settles thick after midnight. The rain rattled the windows violently, power flickering just enough to make shadows jump along the walls. She checked on patients, her shoes squeaking softly against linoleum, her breath fogging the glass at the end of the hallway. Being alone didn't scare her. She'd done this many times. What scared her was how quickly things could change. When the footsteps started, they were faint, slow, uneven, not the steady rhythm of a nurse or orderly. Eliza froze, heart slamming against her ribs so hard she thought someone might hear it. The hallway ahead was empty, lights dimmed to half power. Fear clawed at her throat, urging her to hide, to pretend she hadn't heard anything at all. Her hands trembled as she gripped the counter. Courage didn't arrive as confidence. It arrived as action despite terror. She followed procedure, each step deliberate, each breath shaky but controlled. Doors locked, patients secured, phone calls made. The rain outside roared, as if trying to drown out her thoughts. When security finally arrived, soaked and breathless, they found a confused patient wandering from another wing, disoriented by the storm and darkness. Relief flooded Eliza so hard she had to sit down. But later, alone again, she realized something profound. Courage wasn't about being fearless in that hallway. It was about doing what needed to be done while fear watched closely. That night, She learned she was braver than she ever believed, and fear lost a little of its power over her forever. Silence can be even worse than sound. A janitor learned that lesson high above the city in an office tower that scraped the clouds. Rain fell in sheets outside, lightning illuminating the skyline in violent flashes. Inside, the building was too quiet. Machines powered down. Offices dark. The kind of silence that presses against your ears until you hear your own pulse. As he pushed his cleaning cart down the corridor, the rain suddenly stopped. No thunder, no wind, just nothing. Then the elevator chimed. It wasn't supposed to. The building was empty. The time was wrong. The sound echoed through the hollow floors, bright and cheerful, completely out of place. The janitor felt his stomach drop. Silence returned, thicker than before. He didn't investigate. He trusted the wrongness of that quiet, slipped into a supply closet, and locked the door. Minutes passed like hours. When police later swept the building, they found signs of a break-in. Silence had warned him long before danger made noise. Sometimes the absence of sound is a message, telling you to stop, to listen, to protect yourself before it's too late. Isolation strips you down to what you truly believe. A factory worker found that out during a violent storm that knocked out half the city's power. He was alone on the floor, emergency lights glowing red like watchful eyes. Rain lashed against the walls, wind howling through vents, shadows stretching and bending with every flicker of light. As the night dragged on, shapes seemed to move behind frosted glass. Sounds echoed where no machines ran. His imagination turned against him, feeding on fear. He sat down, back against cold metal, and whispered prayers he hadn't spoken in years. Not loud, not dramatic, just desperate, honest words meant for something greater than the darkness around him. Whether the shapes were tricks of the light or something else didn't matter anymore. His breathing slowed, his heart steadied. He endured. When morning came, the shadows retreated, revealed as nothing more than machinery and glass. But the strength he felt was real. Isolation had shown him that belief can anchor you when fear tries to pull you apart. Preparation saved a life during another storm, deep inside a building filled with humming servers and blinking lights. An IT technician worked alone when alarms began to shriek. Rainwater flooded lower levels. Doors sealed automatically. Red lights flashing warnings that echoed off steel walls. Panic surged instantly, sharp and overwhelming. But her hands moved on their own, guided by drills she'd practiced countless times. Steps memorized. Protocol ingrained. Fear screamed, but preparation spoke louder. She followed the plan, navigating narrow corridors as water crept closer, heart pounding but focused. When rescue teams finally reached her, hours later, she was exhausted, soaked, and shaking but alive. Preparation hadn't erased the terror of that night. It had given her something to hold on to, while fear tried to steal her clarity. Long after the rain dried, she understood that preparation is not about expecting disaster. It's about refusing to let panic decide your fate. Not every threat announces itself. Sometimes danger hides in neglect. A night watchman ignored a slow drip from the ceiling during a storm, distracted by strange noises echoing through the building. Hours later, the weakened structure collapsed where he'd stood earlier that night. He survived by chance, shaken and bruised, haunted by how close he'd come to disaster. Fear had pointed him toward shadows and sounds, but the real danger had been quietly forming above his head. The lesson stayed with him. Not all threats are loud. Some wait patiently for us to look away. Endurance doesn't look heroic when you're living it. A cleaner trapped inside a shopping mall overnight due to flooding sat alone on the floor, wrapped in her jacket, listening to thunder roll endlessly above her. She didn't fight monsters. She didn't uncover mysteries. She waited. She breathed. She stayed awake, whispering reminders to herself that morning would come. Hour by hour fear softened into fatigue. When rescue finally arrived, she walked out under grey skies, stronger than she'd ever known. Endurance had carried her through a night she never thought she'd survive. Hope often arrives quietly. A baker working alone before dawn heard whispers during a storm that curled through broken vents, sounding almost human. Doubt crept in, heavy and suffocating. Was he imagining it? Was he losing his grip? He clung to his work, kneading dough, focusing on the warmth beneath his hands. When the sun finally rose, light pouring through rain-streaked windows, the whispers vanished. Just wind, just shadows. Fear dissolved in the presence of truth, and hope stood where terror once lived. May you be guarded in empty halls and storm-filled nights,